What's going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. And today, we are in 2023, and this is going to be the first tier list of the year, which is always exciting. You know, we just had the New Year's Super Sugo Fest, and people want to know, where do they rank, you know, in terms of all of the other characters. Of course, this is my own subjective opinion. You guys can have definitely your own opinions about my list and about what you think the best legends in the game are. Before we jump into this video though, I need to talk briefly about some criteria that I typically use in order to rank these characters. First of all is the power of the unit. How much damage can they output? How fast can they clear content? And how reliable are they at clearing that content? Is there content as a captain that they cannot clear, which is obviously going to drop them down a peg? And also, how usable or versatile is this character? Can they be injected into various different teams, even when they're not boosted, but they provide amazing effects that help you clear content, or help you do more damage, or help you become more reliable? All of these things are very important in the game, and it's what I use in order to rank each of these characters. What you're seeing right now though is last month's tier list. I have taken away some of the characters. Some of them received super evolutions like Gol D, Roger, Chopper, Uta. All of those characters have been taken off. These characters are at the bottom here. We've got a lot of characters to add to this list this month. Jinbe, Boa Hancock, Chopper, all of the New Year's characters, and then the Super Evolution Roger, Uta, and then you've got the level limit break editions too of Shirahoshi, Jinbe, Fujitora, Lucci, and Snake Man, which we will touch up on in this video. Let's see if any of them actually make it onto the list. Before we start adding new characters onto the list though, I want to quickly go through all of the tiers first and see if any of the characters should move up or be removed or move down. Let's see what we got here. Now, the first thing that came to my mind straight away is the fact that shooters actually received some really good buffs this month, and I actually did end up using Izo and Okiku a little bit, so I actually want to bump them up, and I do also want to bump Tezora up a little bit as well. Maybe move Cracker a little bit down because his special is becoming less and less useful over time. Probably drop it down a little bit. Probably around here seems a bit fair to me. Moving on to tier 4, this is where Chopper was last month, so we'll have to add him back to the list at some point. I did use Ulti just a little bit this month, so I actually want to bump her up because she's actually pretty useful. Halloween Perona is definitely more useful than Sanji, but the rest of this seems okay. I think this Big Mom is a little bit more useful than what we gave her credit for initially, and the reason for it is because the new Kaido can really use this Big Mom to get lots of advantage out of that. So I do think that this Big Mom is actually a little bit better than what we thought. So I think I actually want to move Big Mom up a list, and like, to be honest, I don't know why I ranked her down so low. Maybe because I was just so upset that this character was really not that good. This character definitely deserves to be in the next tier up at a bare minimum, probably above the Halloween hybrids for now. But we'll see how things go moving into the month of January. So let's see how much versus Kaido makes a bit of a wave with the rest of the units. Moving on to tier 3 though, this seems pretty reasonable to me. I kind of want to put Sabo down a little bit. I'm really not a big fan of this Sabo character. He's just kind of mid, in all honesty. He's just kind of bad. The rest of it seems pretty okay. I really hope that we get more uses for Frankie in the future, but it really is dependent on the content that gets released. If there is content released that utilizes damage limiter, Frankie's going to be bumped up a little bit, I would think, but we'll see how things go. Moving up to tier 2, so we're moving up to a little bit more powerful characters now. I think, again, shooter support makes Capone crew a little bit more viable. Corazon saw a little bit more play this month, which was fantastic, very good in the recent Kizuna clash. Blackbeard, obviously still amazing, driven powerhouse focus, that we just got new driven support, so he's great. Whitebeard vs Shanks, probably not as valuable as what we once thought. I'm going to drop them down just a little bit. Crocodile, I really don't use Crocodile that much. The fact that Cerebral has so much support though makes this Crocodile good, because he can hybrid up with all of these amazing Cerebral legends. The new what's it called? Nico Robin, as well as Uta, and like there's just so much stuff that this Croc can use. And I don't use him that much because I would prefer to use like some of the other units as Cerebral captains. I mean, even this Chopper is Cerebral focused. Law and Corazon is also Cerebral focused. Like, Cerebral have a lot of support. I would like to use this Crocodile more, but I just don't find myself using it. Robin and Jinbe, I think, need to go up. They are definitely a tier 1 legend in terms of their usability. Very similar to Shirahoshi Manchuri, where They're units you're not using as a captain, but their amazing utility as a sub is so good. And the good thing about Rob and Jinbe comparing to Shirahoshi Mancherry is that they have better supports, so it makes them pretty freaking good, I must admit. Question is, where do they go in this list? Probably just above Shirahoshi Mancherry for now. Doflamingo probably a little bit lower on the list. Main reason is because he can be used for speed farming, and he's got a special bind reducing captain, which is just so good. Usopp Yasop, more shooter stuff is obviously good. Frankie Tanky, obviously more shooter stuff. I do like the fact that Dog and Cat are kind of like the gatekeepers of tier 1, because these units, like, the fact that they are so centered around short form content is their biggest downfall. Like, if you imagine this unit, but like they don't have a restriction in terms of when their captain quote unquote runs out. Like, this unit's like a god tier unit, but even still, even in normal content, arenas, clashes, like anything that is relative short form, this unit is amazing for. Both Dog and Cat are so good. Zoro, Carrot Wanda, like all these characters are fine. I mean, Sai Odin, I don't really use Sai Odin that much as a captain or even as a crewmate. I guess maybe you could find some uses for him as a crewmate, but I mean, if you're using him as a captain, it is a bit weird because like there's so many other better free spirit captains that you could use over him. I guess he technically is a slasher captain as well, but to be honest, you're not using him as a captain. I kind of want to bump him down a little lower as well because I just don't find myself using him. Really, I don't. Whereas the rest of these units are really good captains, good subs, they're good all around pretty much. Moving into tier 0, so we're right below the top 5. These are the god tier units of the game right here. I mean, I don't really see any issues with these units. I don't really want to drop any of these characters down. And then you've got the tier, the top 5, the creme de la creme of the game. Now, it is going to be a bit of a weird discussion in terms of who do I think is the number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Currently, it's hard to really replace these units, but I guess with all of that, I feel comfortable with the rest of the units on the tier list for now. These are the rest of the units that haven't made it onto the tier list, and it's just because like these units are just fine. They're definitely usable, no doubt. A lot of these characters have level limit breaks that make them usable. They can hybrid with a lot of good units, but I feel like these are just the units that at least I would probably use in content. I mean, maybe not page 1, let's be real. A lot of the Rumble Legends are pretty mid. Smoothie, I think, is actually probably the best. I mean, Kizaru is also really strong too. You can definitely make a case for just about any unit to be on this tier list, but at the end of the day, it's my subjective opinion. I want to talk about the new units though. That's what we're going to really get into right now. Jinbe is the first new unit we're going to be adding to the list. Jinbe is interesting. The fact that he is Fighter Powerhouse focused, he has a pretty interesting mechanic in his captain. At the start of the quest, you get damage immunity until you're hit, and if you're on double Jinbe, it stacks, so you get 2 free hits of damage before you start actually taking damage. That's a really cool effect. I like that they're doing that. A very unique mechanic for a treasure map legend nonetheless. Kind of like Bon Clay. When Bon Clay first released, they had this very unique mechanic that he only has. And it is still good to today's day and age. So I think that Jinbe has potential to be very good moving forward. I just don't see too many situations where I want to use him. Because when you think about it, if you're using a side team, do you really want to use Jinbe as a captain? If you're using a fighter team, I don't know why you're using a fighter team, because fighters are probably one of the worst classes in the game. And if you're running a powerhouse team, again, I don't really know if using Jinbe as the captain. And his usability as a sub is mid, I would say. He has some interesting mechanics. There are definitely some use cases for him. But I feel comfortable leaving him in tier 2 for now. I know people could make a case for tier 1, no doubt in my mind. I feel like, to me, he's like top of tier 2, maybe bottom of tier 1. I guess I'll be a little bit lenient to Jinbe. I think I'll leave him at around the bottom of tier 1, because you could really make a case. He's around this level for sure. I don't think he's in tier 0. He's not as good as these units at the top, but he's a pretty solid unit. The next unit on the list is Boa Hancock. Now, I'm a big fan of this unit, and I guess I could be a little biased because shooters are one of my favorite classes to use. They're a bunch of fun. There's some really unique stuff going on, really weird characters you can really use with them, and Boa has a really nice special. Her special is so strong. What is it, a 2.75 attack boost until you take 3,000 damage? That's pretty cool. And the fact that she's also focused around free spirit. She has a color affinity super type for 3 turns. The only real problem, I suppose, is the fact that you need certain characters in order to activate it, or you have to stall in order to activate the effect. Is kind of weird. Plus the mellow or the love status and the petrify status, which is a new mechanic for her as well. They're not that useful. I guess they're only good when you're up against a boss stage that, you know, has a lot of adds or mobs, and you can just delay them or stop them from attacking so that you can just focus on the boss. Bit of a niche scenario, I'll admit, for sure, but there are some really, really cool stuff that you can do with Boa. I think she's better than Jinbe overall. I think she's probably around this tier. Better than Shiki, better than Zoro Sanji. I think probably not as good as Frankie Tanky, just because the utility captain of Frankie Tanky is really strong, removing burn and attack down. But I'm not going to disrespect Boa. I think she's got some really cool stuff going on, and I can definitely see her seeing a lot of play in the future. Next, we have the Super Evolution of Chopper, which came out during the Kizuna, of course. Now, Chopper previously, he was ranked exactly in this position, right next to Halloween Boa at the top of Tier 4. Unfortunately, with his special, he didn't receive the biggest buff, and I guess people could argue, well, Chopper didn't really need a big buff in the first place. I would agree, but contrary to that, we've had a lot of other amazing God tier buffs in the past as well. And I think that the fact that Chopper didn't receive like a God tier buff, even though technically he didn't need it, like, it doesn't matter. We have some really broken characters in this game. Why not give him a busted buff? Like, I don't really understand that. And the captain ability upgrades that he received were also kind of weird. The fact that now he gets a slight boost to the universal attack, but now he gives a further attack boost to cerebral and shooter. That's a little bit of a weird change. Also, when you limit break expand his captain, he allows you to overheal. So I guess technically speaking, if you're using it for cotton candy farming, Chopper probably is the best now, even better than Film Red Chopper, just because of the universal boost and you can use anything, whereas the Film Red Chopper is solely focused on int and cerebral, even though this Chopper has a more offensively focused special focusing on color affinity and resistance down, and some really cool stuff going on. I think he's better. I think he's a better unit, but if you think about just for cotton candy farming, he's probably a better cotton candy farmer, and he's got a great utility special. But I do think this Chopper will probably still be a little bit better because he has damage boosting stuff, he's got resistance down. I think he actually does still have utility in his special. I think it's Bind and Despair removal. And, you know, Choppers are all really strong. I think he's definitely a better unit, though. I think I want to rank him definitely in the tier above. Probably more usable than these units here. Around here, the top of tier 3, getting bumped up a whole tier, I think, for his Super Evolution is pretty fair. Unfortunately, his Rumble stuff is still terrible, though. We have the New Year's Legends next, but I don't want to talk about them just yet. I want to talk about the other Super Evolutions first. So we got Gol D Roger. Now, prior to this, Roger was ranked, I believe, after Film Red Shanks in the previous list. I think he was definitely in tier 0. And no doubt in my mind, he goes back up there. Like, again, he's similar to Chopper in the fact that he didn't really need that much of a buff, but the buffs that he got just make him overall a better unit. And again, you know, a lot of people will say, you know, we've had a lot of broken characters in the game. Why not give this character a broken buff? And I definitely would agree with that as well. They gave him some really nice stuff. They didn't really change too much. You know, if you just take away the upped numbers, the bigger multipliers that he received, the only real new mechanic that he got with his Super Evolution was the fact that, you know, if you use his special and you already have an attack boost, you get 3 turns of color affinity instead. Another big change to this unit was his super type now allows you to get minus cooldown for 1 turn, and he locks the slots that he gives you for 2 turns instead of 1 turn. That is a big buff. The fact that you could store those slots for multiple different stages is ridiculously good. So I do think that the changes that he received were pretty good. I don't think he is more valuable than Film Red Shanks, though, and some people may disagree with that. I mean, that's completely fine. I just think that Film Red Shanks and what he's able to do is just nuts. When you have this guy at level 5, it is absurd what you're able to do with this character. Again, looking forward into Super Boss Kizuna, the fact that he can get a Super Tandem to activate by only tapping on himself and one other character to get a 2.5 times attack boost for his color, dude, it is way too broken. And if they keep releasing more Super Tandems into the game that only require like 1 character plus the Super Tandem character themselves to launch the Super Tandem effect, oh my god, because it just gives you another free character with the boosts activated. And his Super Tandem is a 2.5 times attack, right? There aren't too many Super Tandems that can do that. It's incredibly strong, and you can activate it every single turn as well. It's not like a final stage Super Tandem. So I do think Shanks is a little bit more powerful than what Roger is able to do. Not discrediting what Roger is able to do though, because Roger is still one of the best legends in the game. I just can't really put him over some of these. Like, you could probably make the argument for this scenario where like Roger's better than Super Tandem Law, but the fact that Law has Super Tandem in and of itself is better than Roger not having one, even though Roger is technically like one of the best rainbow captains in the game. Super Tandem is such a broken mechanic. It just is. And Law's like one of the best generic legends in the game, dude. I don't know how to say it. Roger's just not as good because he doesn't have Super Tandem or Final Tap. Now we have the last Super Evolution of the month, which is Uta. Now, Uta 6 Plus is impressive. She is probably a top 5 best legend in the game, and there are multiple reasons for it. So not only does this new Super Evolution kind of fix what Demon Uta kind of lacked in, this new Uta is basically what the true 6 Plus of Uta is, where it's essentially the same kind of thing, the same kind of gimmicks, no harsh drawbacks or anything like that. There are some slight differences though. Obviously she is focused on boosting Cerebral and Shooter instead of boosting Cerebral and Striker, and obviously she's a quick unit now. But also that her chain multiplier buff that you get from her special when you have both specials activated of 2 Utas, instead of being a chain boost, it's actually a chain multiplier boost, so that's obviously a big difference as well. And when you think about it, this unit, technically, like, I'm talking about Uta as a whole here with this one character, including the base Uta, Demon King Uta, and also the quick Uta, all bundled in one unit because of all of the Super Evolution skulls that are available. And if you can get access to all 3 of those units on the fly, it is so strong. Like, imagine having like a versus unit, for example, where you have you pull 1 legend but you get access to like 2 different things. This is what you get with Uta. You pull 1 legend but you access to 3 different forms of the character that you can switch between with relative ease. And all forms of them are good in their own respective way. So I do think that Uta is a top 5 best legend in the game, and if you disagree with that, I'm sorry, I think you're wrong. I think Uta is legitimately one of the best in the game, top 5, no doubt in my mind. But now we get into the meat and potatoes to talk about the New Year's legends. So we have Kaido and Yamato first. Now Kaido and Yamato I think is a little bit difficult to rank, because they do have some unique mechanics. Both of them have very unique mechanics. You got Kaido, who's so focused on Unga Bunga damage, but also has some really cool unique gimmicks going on. The reverse cooldown, the added effect in his captain to buff attack, orb, and color affinity buffs. The amount of pure damage you get from Kaido is so strong, but he has the heavy drawback. And then you got Yamato, who has the really cool Super Tandem, which inflicts the increased damage taken to the enemy. You have the damage reduction based attack boost, which not a lot of people have been able to abuse yet, but that has a lot of potential moving forward too. But another thing about Kaido and Yamato that I really don't like is the versus effect condition, because it is sometimes very difficult in order to get that to actually, you know, launch. Having to consume 10 Wano or tandem slots can be very difficult to get at times. Whereas, you know, a character like Ace versus Akainu, specifically Akainu, he's able to generate those quick slots so efficiently and get that versus effect without too much issue. Ace can definitely take a little bit of time, but in order for them to launch their condition, they need to consume, I think it's Strength Dex and quick slots, right? And that's way easier than Tandem or Wano. So I don't really know what they were thinking with this character. Maybe it could have been a balancing factor. Not really too sure. Despite all that, this character is still very good. I'm not going to say they're a bad character. This character is still easily a tier 1 character. I think if you think this character is a top 5 best legend in the game, at least right now, I think that's a little strange. I wouldn't put them that high. I think they're pretty close though. Now the real question is, are they better than Ace and Yamato? I think Ace and Yamato might beat them out just purely due to the utility captains. And while yes, they both technically have utility captains, you know, Yamato can remove Despair, talking about the new one, of course, and then this, the Kaido, of course, can remove Special Bind and Special Reverse on himself. His special can do, you know, cooldown reduction and stuff like that. But I just think Ace and Yamato, sometimes they're just so hard to replace for what they do. I don't know, man. I think Kaido and Yamato, they're very good, but they're just not the best in the game. It is what it is. Look, at least I might be proven wrong throughout the month of January. We'll wait and see how things happen. But as of right now, I think that they're a really good legend. I just don't think they're a top 5. Next is Nami on the list. Now, unfortunately, as of the recording of this video, it's the 29th of December. I haven't actually pulled Nami. I haven't had an opportunity to use her yet. But from what I've read and what I've seen thus far, Nami looks incredible, and I cannot wait to get my hands on this unit. You know, the self-proc and conditional, paralysis reducing captain, the base attack boost, the utility, the chain boosting effects, more matching slots as a captain, you know, Psy Striker, Free Spirit captain, fantastic synergy with some of the units in this game. Nami's a really strong character, and I don't think it's that much of a surprise that she's going to be also a tier 0 level character. Again, the question is, where do I think that this character is going to be placed? Again, without having actually used the character yet, it's hard for me to place exactly, but on paper, she seems better than Kaido versus Yamato. Look, I'm just gonna say it. I mean, she just seems better than that unit. I don't know if it's a top 5 character yet, because in content where paralysis is inflicted to you, Nami's gonna be like the god of that content, but that isn't all the time. Now, paralysis is a very common debuff, but it's not in every content out there. But still, even if you're not inflicted with paralysis, Nami's going to be a fantastic asset as a captain. As a crewmate, she's definitely still going to be good, but unfortunately, as a crewmate, she's not going to get access to her conditional boost. She'll only get it if she is the captain, and she is a very good captain. So in situations where you can use her as a captain, it's probably a good opportunity to do that, and she can hybrid well with a lot of good units. But the fact that even as a sub, it doesn't really matter because her crewmate ability is fantastic, or both of her crewmate abilities are really good. She has a really good support effect as well. Her rumble stuff I haven't had a chance to use yet, obviously, but it seems interesting on paper. Would like to try it out for sure. But as of right now, I think I would rank her right at the top of tier 0. The final character we have to talk about is the Demonio Fleur, Nico Robin. Now, funnily enough, I was able to get this character to Rainbow, and I have used her a little bit, and I really cannot wait for Super Boss Kizuna to come out to give this character a full chance to shine. I feel like this character is going to be a fantastic unit moving forward, but in content where you have to output lots of damage, this Robin is going to be a fantastic unit to do that. Essentially getting 2.25 times free damage out of it. It's fantastic. And great synergy with the whole quick squad, with whether it be Super Tandem Law, the Super Tandem Shanks, Beckman Lucky Roo, Usopp Yasop, the new Nami can synergize with this character. This character just is so strong and can synergize with so many powerful characters to get the stacking conditional buffs. But when you look past that, when you look past all of the conditional buffs that this Robin is mainly going to be used for, what else has she got? She really hasn't got a lot going on for her. And that's unfortunately where she kind of lands, is like she's a really powerful legend and no one else can do what she can do. But when you look past that gimmick, there's not really a lot going on. And that's just unfortunate to say, because I think this Robin is going to be really good moving forward. As of right now, I do think I want to put her at the bottom of tier 0. I think she, even in content where, you know, you can still use her as a captain, it's a very bland captain, but you can use her as a captain nonetheless. And just being able to use her special whenever you want, you'll always get a 2.25 conditional boost out of it. If you're using her as a captain, you can get her super class to give you an orb boost for the quick Cerebral and Free Spirit characters, which is also pretty good. If you have a better orb boost, her super class will still buff an orb boost that you have. She has a very unique support effect as well. Like, it is what it is. She's definitely like the least hype, I suppose, of the 3 New Year's legends. But saying that, she's still going to be good. She's going to be valuable to own moving forward. And anytime there's a Super Boss Kizuna, if you can put this character on the team, you probably want to do that, because the damage that she gives the crew is pretty absurd. To end this video, we're going to talk about the level limit breaks real quick. Shirahoshi's is interesting. Her captain is still basically unusable. Her special, though, is very, very unique. Now it is a guaranteed delay through immunity, full board of rainbow slots. She buffs the magnification of rainbow slots, so instead of being a 2 times buff, they're 2.25 instead. The healing, obviously, which is fantastic. But I just don't see this character seeing a lot of play. So honestly, I'm not going to put her on the tier list. And then right next to her is Jinbe V2. And this guy's level limit break is so interesting. Like, I think it's on like stage 3 of a fight. His captain ability automatically changes all of your slots into getting 1 strength, 1 dex, 1 quick, and basically getting 1 of all of the type slots. And then his special ability says that if you have all the type slots, you get a 3.75 chain lock for 3 turns, gives you an attack buff, makes colored slots matching. It makes sense with the character and what he was aiming to do. But the problem with the unit initially, on initial release, is that he was so focused on having 1 of each of the specific slots on the crew. And the fact that they didn't steer away from that, but they leaned more into that, actually hurts the character more than it helps it. While yes, he has gimmicks now that can make this happen, I just don't think it's going to be very valuable moving forward, unfortunately, so I'm also not putting Jinbe on the list. The next one is Fujitora, and I actually do want to put Fujitora on the list. I think that the buffs that they gave him are actually pretty incredible. His captain ability is now super solid, and lots of matching slots. And of course, at the start of the quest, he automatically launches his special, and you get the health cut every time you enter. Is it enter a stage, or every time you, at the end of a turn? I think it's end of turn, you get the health cut, or whatever it is. And then he also now makes quick slots become int, which is kind of weird. And then as a captain, he makes them matching. And also, he gives you 5 turns of an orb boost. So you get lots of matching slots, lots of matching slots, which enable you to get the most out of that orb boost that he provides. And because he automatically launches his special at the start of a quest, you have that 5-turn orb boost as soon as you start the quest, which is kind of cool. It's a little bit unique, you know? And the fact that he has the innate ability to just do the end of turn damage stuff means that you kind of pseudo get around resilience, which is kind of neat. He is driven support too, which kind of helps out versus Kaido. I don't think this character is going to work that well with versus Kaido, but it's a unit that you can use nonetheless. So I do want to put him on the list because Driven are a pretty good class. They've got some good support. So, you know, Fujitora's buffs are pretty good. So Lucci is interesting because this also includes his 6-star and his 6-star plus. Both versions got a buff where the 6-star version, the normal version, is a powerhouse unit, and the 6-star plus, which is this icon here, is shooter focused. And the character with that is shooter focused, the 6-star plus, got a much better buff in his special, being a self-proccing defense down conditional booster, and also giving you a full board of slots, giving you color affinity. He has like a paralysis, and I think it's burn removal as well in his special. Just a lot of cool stuff going on, and his captain ability also reduces cooldown, and he's just a massive damage dealing unit. So I think this is a unit that could legitimately see play, no doubt, if you're running like a speed farming kind of unit, or if you're running a shooter team, which is definitely viable now. Shooters have amazing Sugofest exclusives, but the synergy's kind of wonky, and they don't have the best utility, but this is another unit that can add that utility to your squad, which is very cool. So I definitely think he is in this list. I think he's probably better than this Sabo. I think he's better than Who's Who. He's probably around this level. Probably Rayleigh's a little bit better because he is kind of universal, but either way, Lucci's buffs were very strong. The last character is OG Snake Man, and this also does include his 6-star and his 6-star plus. Both versions received really good buffs, but I think the best one is probably Snake Man. Just imagine OG Snake Man. When this character first came out with his Super Evolution, he was widely considered to be the best unit in the game. And what they've done here is they've grabbed OG Snake Man and they've made his numbers bigger, and he also has extra utility in his special, and his captain ability after launching the special gives you a utility component in his captain. So across the board, he received amazing buffs. No doubt in my mind, he deserves to be back on this tier list, and it's really nice to have him back on here. And to be quite honest, when you have him at level Limit Break 5, I want to make a video on him because he does seem very interesting. He is fighter powerhouse focused as well, which is kind of interesting for a Luffy. You know, a powerhouse focused Luffy is kind of interesting, even though he's a rainbow captain, but the fact that his classes are not the typical Luffy class. I believe Stampede Luffy was also fighter focused as well. And I do think he does deserve to be in a pretty high tier, to be honest. I think he does deserve to be, you know, at least around this level. I probably would rank him above Sengoku. He's probably around this tier, to be honest. Maybe even better than Stampede Luffy. Stampede Luffy is kind of unique in what he's able to do. I think this Luffy got a fantastic buff, and I really want to make a video on him just to show how good he is. So look forward to that, hopefully in the new year at some point. So with that, we've now added all the changes necessary, but there's still one thing that we need to do before we end this video, and that is to discuss the top 5. Who do I think are the top 5 best legends in One Piece Treasure Cruise? Right now, I think the top 5, these characters are the characters that I would consider to be the top 5 right now. Because of what has happened between now and the previous tier list, I do think that Luffy Crew is back at number 1, but whenever next month's tier list rolls around, depending on how that Kizuna goes, or what happens between now and then, what kind of content comes up, you know, Kaido might jump back up. In terms of third spot, it is going to be between Roger Whitebeard, Luffy, and Uta. I kind of want to give it to Uta. You know, the new 6+ has given her just new toys to play with. Now we have another really OP shooter character. And of course, you can run the Driven Powerhouse version, you can run the Cerebral Striker version, and because the recent New Year's Sugofest has introduced so many new striker buffs, you know, obviously the base Uta just gets a lot better, right? Because you get access to Nami, you get access to Kaido versus Yamato you can use as well. You can also use Robin with the new Uta as well. Like, this Uta is just amazing, and she's such a powerful unit. I can't believe they made a unit as good as this unit. Next, we have Roger Whitebeard, or we have Luffy. I think Roger Whitebeard is going to be there in my 4th spot, and then Luffy will be my 5th. And then right below that, we have the Ace and Yamato, because the utility captains are busted. Unfortunately, their switch effect is kind of mid because it's very difficult to get the super switch in normal content. Of course, it is able to be supercharged in Super Boss Kizuna's, for example, but in normal content, their switch effect is difficult to get. I would think moving forward into Super Boss Kizuna, I would think that they're going to fully charge versus effect specials so that these characters can actually be used in that content. Crossing my fingers that that's the truth. We'll have to wait and see what actually happens though, but that is it, guys. That is it. That is going to wrap it up for me for the January 2023 tier list for One Piece Treasure Cruise. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to go ahead and leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post on my channel, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. But on that, guys, I will see you guys within the next video.